About 3 years ago, I started working with senior volunteers, and one of the things that volunteers do here in Cottonwood County is they help the distribution for the Second Harvest MAC and NAPS program, and that stands for Mothers and Children, and also Nutrition Assistance Program for Seniors. There are overall in the county right now about 70 people who are receiving either MAX or the NAPS distribution, and I became very interested and aware of the hunger that does exist in Cottonwood County over these years. Transportation is a problem. We are a very rural area, and many people do not have transportation, or they are no longer able to drive. And so going to places where food is available, food resources such as food chefs, the Mac and Naps distributions, any of the other available food programs are sometimes very difficult for them to get to. And so transportation is an issue. We do have public transportation in the county. However, it does run on scheduled hours, and sometimes if it's not at the right time, it's very difficult to get a ride. So that is an issue. I also started to work with a group called the Cottonwood County Hunger Free Coalition. And we did a study through a survey at the county fair in 2011 to sort of assess for our own sake just what really is the situation in Cottonwood County. And we found that there is a problem, that there are people of all ages who are doing without food. And the survey came back, 11% of those filling out the survey did say that they had missed at least one meal a day. Now, a lot of people think that missing one meal a day is not significant, but it actually is, because that means that people are doing without, they're eating less than what they should, they are eating food that may not be the healthiest food for them, but it is something to fill their stomachs. And so it's a problem. And I do see it as a problem here in the county. And I work with this hunger-free group, and we are trying to find ways of alleviating those problems in any way that we can, and looking for resources to help with that.
What have you tried in terms of alleviating hunger?
Right now, I'm working with the local SHIP grant, and there is a multi-county group now through Rural Advantages in Fairmont that are working towards looking at, they've just started, and they're looking at many ways of doing farm-to-table, farm-to-table school lunches, helping to find ways to help farmers be able to have the equipment to preserve food when it's in season so that it doesn't go to waste and can be used later. I don't know. This is going to be a terrible interview.
No. So first of all, SHIP.
Yes.
What's the acronym?
Yes, I'm sorry. SHIP is Statewide Health Improvement Program.
Okay. So that's. I'm trying to get the connection. I mean, they're working with essentially the problem of small truck farmers having more at any given time than the market can bear.
Actually, SHIP is very multifaceted. It works with a lot of different angles. Anything to do with nutrition, exercise, education, education on nutrition, education on exercise, all the different things that are involved in making you a healthier person.
So specifically with regard to poverty and hunger, how are they thinking about the connection between farmers and alleviating hunger? I mean, is that through
Yeah.
the schools that would happen, or are there other ways that farmers can get food to the people who need it the most?
Okay, raising the awareness of farmer markets, and that farmer markets are an affordable way of getting good, nutritious food. Education through the schools, to educate children what real food is and healthy nutrition. Introducing them to foods that come from the farmers directly, and so that the children are basically only aware of things that are packaged now, and they really don't, most children don't have a lot of concept of what locally grown, right from the farm foods are. And so that is one of the programs. Having nutritional and exercise programs within companies, having companies provide healthy snacks versus the vending machine with the not so healthy snacks. So a lot of different angles, many different angles to get people on board with healthier foods, much better nutrition, and exercise.
And have you had any particular successes with these efforts? Are they mostly in kind of the planning stage, or have you gotten some actual changes to happen?
Well, a lot of it is still in planning stages or just being implemented, but even in the building that I work in, they have started having healthy snacks in the break room that can be purchased for a very minimal fee, instead of bringing in the mini pans of bars and cookies and all kinds of desserts that they were doing before. So that is quite an improvement. You don't see those pans of bars in the break room anymore. Now you see healthy snacks.
And that's, I mean, does this organization ship? Does this put up posters in the break rooms, or how does it make that happen?
No, it's up to each individual company how they want to plan what they're doing, and so each company that applies for a SHIP grant through these mini grants, they actually will do all the work involved. Yes.
So a company could apply for a mini grant to do employee education and propaganda and whatever to clean up the break room snack act, or to introduce some alternative to the vending machines that aren't that aren't healthy, and then and that would be the way that the initiatives would get implemented.
Exactly.
I understand.
Yes.
Okay.
Through one of the SHIP grants that was made to Rural Advantages out of Fairmont, they have a multi-county food policy council who is meeting, and like I said before, working with farmers, also with schools to bring the farm to school program in, but also looking at community gardens and a lot of different resources like that. Programs through the local extension services to teach healthy nutrition. That will also be one of the things where farmers markets come in, because they can have classes that would be, several weeks long, that would teach actual cooking class and using local produce and just, healthy foods in general. So those are all some of the programs that are being worked on. And
of all the things that are being suggested, what makes you most excited? What interests you the most?
Well, I think actually probably community gardens. I think that is something that we really need to get on board with. Community gardens can serve so many different people, and then any extra produce that's left over could possibly go to food shelves. food shelves would have to have a little farmer market stand outside of their building, because of course the food hasn't been inspected in any way, but if it was available at a stand outside of their building, then it would be accessible. But I really like the idea of community gardens because it can reach out to so many different peoples of every ethnic background, every age. It's just a good program.
Are communities doing this? Are farmers making space for community gardens? What's happening?
Oh, no, actually, as far as I know, we don't have any locally here in the Windham area that I'm aware of. But it's something that a number of us have talked about and would really like to get going. So,
What does it take to make a community garden happen?
well, someone to donate a portion of land. It can be an extra lot or a half lot, any space that's just not being used that could be turned into a garden space. There is some startup cost, of course, because you have to have fencing to keep animals out, and oftentimes you have to have dirt brought in, soil brought in that is the right quality for a garden, and compost, and then tools to work the garden with in case some of the people don't have their own tools. So and then seeds, of course. You have to have the seeds or plants. So there is startup cost, and that's something that has to be looked at.
So are there grant funds available through SHIP or some other way?
Actually, yes, there is.
So it would be possible for a community to apply for a small grant through SHIP
Yes.
to handle those startup costs on a community garden.
Yes, exactly.
And that'd be pretty decent return, because once you've got it established, it would kind of continue
Exactly.
without a whole lot of
income output. Yes.
It would be pretty interesting. Now, you've worked some with coordinating seniors.
Yes.
I'm wondering how kind of coordinating senior volunteers fits in with this ending hunger stuff that you've been working on.
Well, we do have seniors who work in the local food shelf here in Windham, and we also coordinate the distribution, as I said earlier, of the Mac and Naps boxes in Windham and in Staunton. So they are very much involved in those aspects of helping people to get nutrition.
I see. And these boxes are like the Mac and Nap, the boxes, what are those?
Well, it's a box that's prepared. They're basically government supplemental nutrition boxes. In, say, the NAPS box for seniors, you'll have 2 bottles of some kind of juice, and you'll have a couple of cans of fruit, a couple of cans of maybe up to 4 cans of vegetables. It will have a starch such as rice or noodles, some sort of pasta, or dried potatoes. There's canned milk, and also the boxed milk, which replaces the dried milk that was in there before. There is cereal, and I'm trying to think what else there is in there. Anyway, it's a variety of different food groups. Oh, and then there's the cheese that's in there. The American cheese box, which is a 2-pound box of American cheese. So it addresses a lot of the different food groups.
So the idea is a bunch of these boxes show up in Staunton, and then how do they get distributed?
Well, the people have to sign up prior to that with Second Harvest Heartland, and it's income based. If you meet the income guidelines for your household, then you're eligible to receive a box. And so they have to be already pre-approved, and then the boxes arrive at the distribution location. The people have a card that identifies them, and then the boxes delivered to them.
Delivered to them, that is.
Right into their car.
Oh, I
Yes,
see. So,
yeah.
so the transportation problem you're worried about before is still a problem. They have to get to the
They have to
distribution
get there,
center.
and there are quite a number of these people who have to get rides with other people or take the county transit bus or ask a proxy to pick their boxes up for them and bring them to their homes. So,
Nice.
yes, transportation is still a problem.
How do the barriers look?
A lot of people just don't sign up. We try to advertise it as much as possible that, it's available, it's there. If you meet the income guidelines, it's available to you. Very seldom do we actually have someone not show up for their box or have, their proxy show up to pick up their
Nice.
boxes. And we try to make every effort that everyone get their box, even to, if they haven't shown up by a certain time, we will call them to see if they've forgotten that that's the date.
Okay.
So we don't have very many boxes ever that don't get
So,
picked
so
up.
the barrier is at the level of people signing up.
Signing up or either thinking that, well, I'm not able to drive, so I don't have a way to pick it up. And just, we have that Minnesota nice.
Yeah, I know.
But people, Minnesota also is, I don't want to ask for help.
I see.
And we see that all the time. I don't want to bother anyone. And a neighbor, a friend, someone would definitely be willing to pick those boxes up for them if they just knew. So, yeah.
Do you have any idea of like what percentage or how many like eligible people are not applying? Is it a tiny percentage? Is it more than half? What would you think?
Oh gosh, now you're really putting me on the spot, Peter.
Well, but I'm also just asking
It's
for
a
your estimate.
it's a large percentage. It is a large percentage. Cottonwood County is a poor county. It's not by far the poorest county, but we do have a large senior population who meet the income guidelines. And there is a limit for Minnesota as how many people can receive those boxes, but chances are very good that if you call and, apply, you would be put on the list.
Sounds good. So, do you have any bright ideas as to how to get more of the people who are eligible to sign up?
I wished I had some bright ideas because we really want people to have good nutrition and to have enough to eat. And it's a problem. We know that there are people out there that are doing without food because they're having to pay for their medications or utility bills, something. And so they're scrimping on food. And it shouldn't be that way.
Well, are there any things that have worked in the past? I mean, somehow you got a body of people who are willing to sign up. How did that happen?
Well, sometimes it has been through putting it in church bulletins. This program started long before I was ever involved in it, so I really don't know all the ways that people were encouraged. I would imagine that some of the people who use some of the programs through our family services were probably steered in that direction.
I guess I'm trying to get my head around this hunger business, and partly I'm wondering whether the people who are missing meals and who are, who don't drive and so can't get to the food shelf, the people you see who are really suffering, whether things like community gardens and even produce distribution outside the food shelf and whatever else, is that going to help them? I mean, do they have the food habits or the food education or the cooking skills or whatever it takes to be able to handle produce?
Yeah. Yes, I think that most of the people do have the education. Most of the older people, yes, they definitely know how to cook for the most part. All of them would. And I think they would feel not so obligated or intimidated. Many of our seniors really are at such a low income level, but they're too proud to apply for the SNAP program, which is the old-fashioned food stamps. They see it as a government handout instead of something that they're entitled to. They are entitled to it, but they won't ask for it. And it's really a hard battle to get them to understand that it would help them so much if they would apply for that program. They may not get a great deal of money off of the SNAP program, but every little bit helps. So I think having a community garden where they could just be neighbor to neighbor, be given vegetables that they could use in amounts that were reasonable, that they would be able to consume, would be a very good thing.
So are you imagining it this way, that a lot of these people may be sort of too frail or in the wrong location to actually cultivate the community garden?
Right.
But
Exactly.
but people would say, look, our garden has grown, we're awash in zucchini. Yes, everybody's awash in zucchini or
Exactly.
peas or something. Would you like a basket? Would you like to take some of this off our hands?
Exactly.
That kind of an offer would be understood and appreciated, and it would be neighborliness and not a handout.
Certainly, absolutely, it would be. And we have several housing units here in town, right here, that if a delivery of, some vegetables every week were taken to them, they definitely would use them.
So in some ways, you're in a pretty good position with a lot of at least the elderly people for fighting hunger, because they've got they know how to cook good stuff. They appreciate good stuff. They use it. It's just a matter of getting it to them.
Right.
And then, of course, getting it to them off season, which is where preservation and stuff is going to come in.
Yes, exactly.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh. So then, but there must also be a population of people who are hungry who don't have those skills, who don't know how to cook, who have been trained to eat very expensive food and
even if it's not
packaged
expensive,
well, I mean, what I mean by
packaged, yes.
packaged, expensive per unit of nutrition and such.
And I truly believe there's a whole generation of younger people who that's the case. They don't know any other way, and to re-educate them is a challenge, and it's going to continue to be a challenge. And so that is one of the reasons why the farm to school program in the schools, bringing produce straight from the farm, and the classes have a little education program about what the food is and how it's grown. It's starting to educate those young children into what real food is, and so that's an important step. And many of the parents I know have been amazed when their child comes home and say, can we have this vegetable or that vegetable? And the parent looks like, what? Because they've never served that. So now, oftentimes when we get new people, it's because someone who's on the program knows someone who could use the program, and so they'll take them one of the little brochures and encourage them to call and say, I don't know, everybody has to, you have to be careful. I don't know if you're qualified, but this is a really good program, and you should call and see if you are eligible. So.
Yeah. Well, it's always television.
There's always television.
my special thing. So, and how often do these boxes arrive?
Once a month.
Okay,
Yes,
so they're
once
not,
a month.
they're not a full solution.
No, it's not a full solution, but it certainly does help.
Yeah, and if there were, a delivery of produce, during the summer in addition. So we're talking now. We started out talking about these boxes arriving places like Staunton, but in terms of the high rises or the not high rises, but the residences in Wyndham, is participation going to be higher there, do you think?
No, I'm not sure I'm
Well, what I
understanding.
mean is, are you going to have more? You talk about missing people out in the country, and I kind of understand. But in a residence where a lot of folks live, a lot of elderly folks live together, are you still going to have people who aren't being served, who are eligible?
For the NAPS
Yeah,
boxes?
yeah.
Well, here in Wyndham, in the residence apartments, quite a few of those do use the program. Yeah.
So it isn't as much of a problem to get the eligible people hooked up with the food.
Most of the times it's the people who live alone
I
that,
see.
are not aware or just not comfortable with accepting the boxes. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So, do you have good pictures somehow or other? Like, is there anybody who knows how many people in Cottonwood County live alone?
Well, someone probably does. Census.
Census.
We could refer to the census to find out that, yeah.
Uh-huh. So you could actually get a sense of how many people are potentially in trouble.
Oh, yes. Well, yeah, definitely. And, Second Harvest Heartland did a huge survey, several years ago statewide, and they broke it down by county of incomes and how many people are eligible in the county for services that, could be getting services.
Oh, I see. So that information you've got,
Mm-hmm.
and so you could really pretty easily tell how close you're coming to
Oh, right.
serving the people who you need.
And we know that we're not serving nearly as many people as could use the help.
I see. So what do you find? You do a lot of work with this stuff. You're in a lot of meetings. You're talking to a
Yeah.
lot of people. What do you find most satisfying about your own work?
Well, that's a difficult one. Satisfying in that hopefully someday, it's not totally happening now, but someday that people will have food. I just don't like to see anyone that's going without food. And so we're working towards that goal that someday, everyone should be able to have food. It's a struggle. I'm not going to say that it isn't, because it is. And it's something that you have to just continually work at in the best ways that you can. And some things will work and some things are just going to fall by the wayside. And getting other people involved, as with anything, you always have those who will do, and then there are lots of people who think it's a great idea but don't get involved. So,
Yeah. Just to connect up, I did a show earlier about Greg Warner's Circles of Support project.
yes.
And we were in a parade together supporting that.
I was there too.
Yeah. Maybe more years than years than just
Yes.
one. So, how do you see things like circles fitting into the picture of getting food to people who need it?
Oh, yeah. Circles is a wonderful, wonderful program that is so totally understated, really. I'm very involved with the Circles group and work with Greg closely. Circles is an excellent vehicle for getting the word out to a lot of people, because the people who attend Circles know lots of other people that can use help, and so they really are a good resource for spreading the word for us.
So is the picture this, that you get a bunch of people who are trying to better themselves and get out of poverty, or meeting for a meal, like once a week now?
Yes, once a week.
Once a week, and talking about and partnering with folks who are a bit more prosperous in some ways on that, to think about strategies for getting out of poverty. They meet together and they get good information about available food resources and possibilities. and then they become a conduit for their friends.
Exactly, yeah.
And also they become a way of inviting more people to come to these meetings and know stuff. So
Yes.
it becomes a sort of distribution network for information
It
that
definitely
works
does.
through the people in poverty as opposed to from people who aren't to people who are.
But I do want to make a correction there. I mean, we do, part of the circles, I don't even know what you call it. Part of circles is that we do work to help people overcome poverty. But poverty is not just lack of financial means. We invite everyone to join in the Circles of Support group because it's not only to overcome your financial poverty, but social poverty and services. And there are people who come just because of the social aspect. There are people who come because they want to learn more about how to become a leader, how to better manage their finances, lots of different reasons. So there are all kinds of levels to poverty other than just lack of money. So, but yeah, they're great, as you said, conduit to get information out to other people that they know about different services and programs and just help in general from all different levels.
You must run into this phenomenon of social poverty quite a
I
bit
do.
in your work. Can
I
you say
do.
just a bit about what you run into and what your thoughts are on that?
There are a lot of people, as I said before, people don't like to ask for help and they don't like to impose on people. And I find, especially working with seniors, a lot of seniors are very isolated and they don't want to ask for any help and they don't want to say that they're in need. And so they do become quite isolated. So it's a problem. And people are willing to help other people, but you have to be asked. If you don't know someone is in need, then you can't help them. People have to understand that it's okay to ask for help. And help can be, help putting a light bulb in or reaching something on a high shelf so that you're not climbing up on a ladder and falling and breaking a hip. It could be, I could really use a NAPS box. That would really help me to stretch my food budget a lot further every month, but I don't have a way to go get it. My neighbor might do it for me if I helped, though. If I asked, they would help me.
Yeah. So it's just encouraging people to ask
Yes,
for help.
just
That's
ask
what
for
it comes
help.